Big Blue Thumb Productions presents the Podley Podcast. Here's your hosts, Podley Bill, Podley Cliff, and Podley Paul.
Welcome to Epi 186.
186.
Hello, Nicole. Nicole gets the 3,500 points. Wow, you're in early tonight.
3,500. Nice.
3,500 points. We have other people watching, but they're not commenting. So they're
Listen,
not,
people.
not going for the points.
Listen, people.
You're not going for the points.
Yeah.
We all go for the points, my friends. We all go for the
I don't
points.
understand 168 hours in why people aren't just jumping at those points.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Especially because they mean so much, right?
Now, Nicole, just because you commented twice doesn't mean you get a second set of
Well,
points.
she'll get one. I get 3,501
Yeah.
points. Nicole.
Yeah.
Nicole, you ready for school?
That's right.
Nicole,
School's
you ready
coming
for
up here
school?
real quick. Yeah, it is.
Boy, what a difference! What a difference between
What?
elementary and junior high prices for
difference
kids.
a
Holy
day
mackerel.
makes.
Are you your kids back to school this week? Oh, William's in second. There's the 2,500.
3,500.
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. Beckett.
Thursday.
He's back on Thursday as well.
Thursday. It's a big difference for us this year because it's the first year where I've got two schools. So my boy's in grade 7, my girl in grade 6.
What schools?
Well, my boys. Mayanook, my girl, still. They've been Mayanook for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first year where we're all, it's not just kids that are going to have to get used to it. It's me that's going to have to get used to routine and stuff like that. So,
Nicole says no, she's not ready for school. She wants 5 more weeks.
You can't have it.
Yeah.
As my English friend would say, you can't have it.
Yeah, I love all, these memes, these social media memes. I'll bet you, can't wait until the kids go back to school so the parents can play, yada, yada, yada. I'll bet you the parents are chopping at the bit. No, I love it when my kids are at home for summer and hanging out and we can play in the backyard. I love it. I love it.
Boom.
So, it's kind of bittersweet for me,
Chugga-lugga. Chugga-lugga-lugga-lugga, boom.
But,
Well, it's kind of funny. They're back for what, like 2 days, and it's a long weekend.
and it's a long weekend.
So,
Yeah, I know.
Long weekend.
yeah, lots of.
Yeah, some kids actually started on the 21st, and they did registration, and then they don't go back till after.
Isn't that weird? It's weird,
So,
right?
yeah, I don't know why it's
Well,
done that way. I'm not really certain of the logistics. I'm sure the schools have a good reason to do it.
Well, I know here. So Beckett has 2 days,
Mm.
long weekend. Goes to school all day Tuesday, and then Wednesday is early dismissal.
Is that right?
The first Wednesday of every month out here is early dismissal.
Early dismissal.
Oh, I didn't
He
know
only
that.
goes till like 2 o'clock or something like that, and he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure the schools have a reason for it. I don't know the reason. I'm sure they have a good reason for it. But it just seems so weird that the kids they get all juiced up about school and they come to school for the registration, whatever they call it. And besides,
and
who
then-
registers? But and why do we need registration in person? I mean, I know they got to get the lockers and stuff, but why can't they do it the first day of school, or whatever? But then registration's all done online, isn't it? I just don't understand the system. I don't understand coming back. And 21st of August was the first school. I'm like, since when?
Yeah. Well,
So-
some of them it's because. But sorry, Paul. I know with Beckett, the change out here too is because they get more days off in November. Or
Yeah,
something.
and,
Right.
and
You know,
to
so that's why
Nicole's
they-
point.
they start early.
Yeah, to
Nicole
Nicole's
says
point, it
they
had
have
to
to
do something with teaching hours, and
teaching
that's
hours.
what I kind of figured.
Yeah.
It had to do with teaching hours. It's not. They should always have it start after the long weekend. Agreed. Like I've got it. Like I have to go 10. My kids and me have to go. Well, and a parent have to go to an orientation tomorrow morning.
Oh.
Why can't they just do it first day of school?
It doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
Well,
I agree with Nicole.
like show up first day of school,
yeah.
No, but it's the number of teaching hours.
and
though,
that's
right?
and I get it.
I
Yes.
get what she's saying,
I do
but
get
it
it.
still doesn't make sense.
It's still no.
Why start 2 days at the end of August when
Yeah.
you got the long weekend start in September?
Well, either that. I mean, I don't know how many school days actually kids are in school. What is it, 200 days a year or something?
Ish. Yep.
It's not very much,
yeah.
right?
Nope.
So instead of doing that, why don't we just like add 2 days somewhere, like take away some?
Cliff, it's so funny that you say that, and I've said this probably since my kids have been in school.
Yeah.
I don't remember having half as many PD days
Me either, buddy.
than when I went to school. Then these kids have 5-day weekends sometimes. 2 or 3 times
And then
5-day weekends.
And then they have like spring break, and then they have this long weekend. And now I know I can't remember. I
don't get it.
I was at one school where they had, I think it was like a 3-day week for something, because they had PD day, but then something else. And then all of a sudden there was a long weekend or something like that. And then it was a spring break. And then when they came back, they had the Monday off or something. I can't remember how the details of it worked, but I'm like, look, I know school runs from X number of morning hours to X number. But if I were to actually go and call on the school and try to talk to somebody, I have this little tiny window. Because if you go, well, no, because if you go at this
you're
time, the
absolutely
principals are
right.
busy because they're doing this supervision or that supervision. But then if you go at 10:30, they're having coffee break. But then if you go at 11 o'clock, they're getting ready for lunch to send the kids to
Absolutely
lunch.
right.
And then if you go, then you have this small little window of opportunity you can come
For
from,
you and 300 parents.
you could come at 1:17 to 2:01 or something. And I mean, and I'm not saying this as a derogatory comment about them, right? Because obviously they don't have the time. It's not like they're saying, hey, no, you can't come see me. They want to see me.
Yep.
So I'm not saying it as a derogatory situation for them. I'm saying that I don't know. There seems to be enough hours. I mean, they're there from whatever 8:30 to 3:30. So however many hours that is.
Yep.
But they don't seem to have any time. And you know, it's so
Well,
like it's so strange. I don't remember ever having those kinds of days off.
I don't remember that either. I agree. Like Nicole said, spring break when she was a kid was 2 weeks. I remember spring break being long as well, but I never remember PD days. Every month and all this stuff getting time.
Yeah,
off.
I don't.
Other than you get your standard long weekends off, that kind of thing. I don't remember. There was no early dismissal. Like the first Wednesday of each month, there was no early dismissal or any of that kind.
You know
of
what's
thing.
funny? It's funny when they did have PD days when I was a kid. Both my parents being teachers, I do remember them talking to each other. They would go, so Thursday, Friday, for example, PD days. They would go to the to professional development meetings. They'd take Friday to do their shopping and to do their laundry, and they'd be home.
Yeah.
They'd be home. They wouldn't take both days for professional development.
PD
quite
days,
frankly, I don't know if it's like that now, Nicole. Or if it's mandated or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
but-
curious as to like a PD day. So is there mandated personal development studies and courses and whatnot that a person has to take? Nicole, maybe you could help us understand that.
And Nicole, I think, is alluding to what you were saying, Cliff, about why couldn't they just have maybe registration on the first day or something. She says in this comment, it's okay if you're in school or a student body of 1,500 students, add parents and teachers, and the registration or tour
good
would be
nuts.
crazy. Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, but isn't registration done online now?
No.
I know Beckett's supposed to go and pick his lockers. and
Yes,
stuff out
Cliff.
on Thursday,
Yes.
but
Okay, but it's one thing to say you got to go pick lockers.
yeah.
It's another thing to say you have to go through all the paperwork in person.
I don't recall him what they did. I don't register him, of
Yeah.
course, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, there's all the teachers' conventions as well, Thursday, Friday.
Oh yeah, teachers convention. Exactly, that's
I
what it
used
is.
to work at all the teachers' conventions because I'd have a booth there.
Right.
Oh, did you? Is that right?
So I was at everyone, even up in Grand Prairie. But the funny thing was, of course, Thursdays were busy.
Right.
Literally by Friday, you hit maybe 11:30, place empty. So all the teachers were leaving. They're making a long weekend of it.
True.
right?
It's true. It's true.
So they
Listen,
they make an
true.
appearance in the morning, and then by 11:30 in the morning, the hallways, you could shoot a gun down the hallways.
Now I have to say we're not claiming that by virtue of extra PD extra. I don't know if they have extra PD days now versus when we were kids, extra teachers convention, yada yada yada. Now I'm not alluding to the fact that the teachers work less because I'm well aware, right? I'm just saying it seems like the students have a lot less days in class.
Okay,
than
but wait a
when I was
minute. The
kid.
students have a lot less days in class. So do the teachers, don't they, or no?
I'm assuming not. So as I'm alluding to the fact that when the students have those extra days, I'm thinking you guys are grading, or
what are
I'm
the
thinking
teachers
you
doing?
guys are taking convention, or I'm thinking you guys are taking personal. I don't know.
Kat's here. Kat, you get the 1,500 points because you're actually the only third comment
That commented, yeah.
on here.
We have more people watching, but they haven't commented yet,
You're
Kat.
not Laura's here.
Laura, you just missed it, dude.
So Nicole says, so registration opens in April. However, in junior high and high school, you pretty much go the first couple of days to get the class schedule and change options and such. Like I do know that back in probably May that Beckett was picking his options for grade 8.
Yep,
and getting that all in place.
Yeah, same with my kids. Yeah. Same with my kids.
PD days are kind of monthly, Nicole says, and they do that so teaching hours stay the same. However, they want staff to take courses that pertain to their classroom students.
Okay, they want, but is it mandated?
Yeah. What happens if the teacher doesn't show up?
What happens if they don't do anything?
Hey, let me ask: is the facilitator taking teachers' attendance at those meetings?
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
just
that's
curious
my
how it
question.
works.
I'm
I'm just
curious
curious how it
too.
works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Chai is here. Chai, you missed out on the point. Sorry.
Cha-cha, you missed. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how that you're right. Is it mandated? So if Friday's a PD day and I decide I'm going to go home and do my laundry, like am I getting my hand slapped because I'm not at the
Yeah.
school doing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
PD day
and I'm not
attendance is taken, Nicole
attendance
says.
okay.
So I guess you have to be there.
Thank you,
Well,
Nicole.
no,
I didn't know that.
no, that's not what she says. She says attendance is taken. She doesn't say you have to be there.
But I guess if
Interesting.
we have a friend of ours who's a school principal, also principal, and I'd be interested in actually asking him that question because I used to have to do presentations on PD days as well.
Right.
And sometimes you'd show up to the school and you usually have a pretty full room.
Well, every time I've been,
Day.
I've seen pretty good.
So I don't know what happens when you say you take attendance. So I don't know what happens if you don't show up. If you get
that's
docked,
that's my question. Yeah.
like if you get docked or
What is it, brown?
what happens?
And
Hey,
if
Brent.
you get docked, is it brownie points if you do show up? And what are those? Is that
And you can't get docked. You're on salary with the union.
and you're on salary anyway.
With
So
the
what?
union. Yeah.
What is that? Yeah.
Some
I don't-
PDs online, however, you don't have to have your screen on. So I've seen people duck out. See, this is what I mean, right? This is where semantics. That's why I'm always concerned about language, right? Yes, they take attendance. She said, well, what does that mean, right? That doesn't mean it's mandatory. It means that they take attendance.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. And again, I'm not casting aspersions. I know teaching hours and all that type of stuff. I'm just curious because when I was young, which was a long time ago, obviously, I didn't see all that. And on top of that, because I see all the different school boards, the calendars, it's quite a difficult task when you look at it. You go, okay, I can't go then, I can't go then. No, I can't go. Nope, can't go there. Nope. And it's like, well, wait a minute. When can I go?
yeah.
Right. So, but keep in mind now, the admin people are different than the teachers.
Well, and it's funny that you say that too, because my kids having just finished elementary, they have very busy. I don't remember being that busy in elementary with all of the extracurricular, hip hop classes brought in and Broadway musicals brought. I don't remember being that busy, quite frankly, as an elementary kid.
I've said
So
this.
to your
I've said
points-
this for a very long time, and I'll probably get jumped on for this and beaten, proverbially beaten to death. But I don't. I think schools should go back to concentrating on a curriculum that actually forwards the child's education.
I don't disagree with you.
That is more geared towards academics, and everything else should be an extracurricular activity and a choice based on the culture of the parents and the culture of the place that they whatever. Because I don't know, and keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who loves drama and loves all these things. But I think, okay, fine, I think they should teach music. But I don't think they should have, spend a considerable amount of time away from academics. They should have drama classes, absolutely. They should be exposed to a lot of different things. But in my mind, I don't think it should take away from the academics. I think academics should be, let's face it, right? I can take drama when I'm 13 or 14 outside of school. I don't need to take it in school. If that was my bent and I wanted to take it, if I just get a general introduction to drama, a general introduction to music, etc., and then focus, and I'm not talking about all STEM either, right? Like all the science, technology, and all that. I'm not talking about that. But at the same time, is our education system such that when a child comes out of grade 12, and I tell you, I have my own theories about this, comes out of grade 12, are they proficient readers? Are their comprehension skills significant enough to be able to function in a world that relies on language and comprehension? Because that's the basis of all education.
Yeah, and by the time you get into nowadays into high school too, like they have such a choice that they, as long as they get through those basic academics
Right.
so that they can get their diploma, they can take so many other things, like you said, right?
Yeah.
So they might not spend a lot of time. They might not take English 30 unless there's a particular reason for it. right?
And that's actually,
They don't need it.
They don't need it, but that's actually part of my point, right, Bill? If you look at English, we're just talking English here. I know there's all kinds of different cultures here now and languages, but fact of the matter is English is a world language. If you are not proficient coming out of school and at the language, language is the basement, is the foundation. If you don't have that, if you don't have a facility in language, you cannot
Or
learn.
good reading ability.
That's what I mean.
Can I
comprehend?
answer?
You cannot learn.
Can I answer your statement with a question?
Shoot.
We are all on social media, some more, some less, Facebook, Instagram. How many adults, 30, 40, 50-year-olds, do not know the difference between there, and there?
Yeah.
You see it every day, all day,
Lots.
every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I tell you what, I have a friend of mine. I won't mention.
Come on.
I won't mention any names. He came out of high school the same time I did. He's my age. He came out of high school the same time I did. He graduated with grade 12. I dropped out, as you all know. I've said this before. I dropped out in grade 10, beginning of grade 10, because I didn't have any place to live, and I had to work for a living. So I ended up dropping out. I worked, and then I went back and got my high school at my own speed.
your own time.
So y'all know this. This is not a secret. But Buddy graduated right from grade 12. He passed, like, not a bad passing mark either. And then he never read another thing in his entire life. And I tell you what, I used to go for coffee with him because we used to work together. I'd go for coffee with him, we'd get the Edmonton Sun.
Yeah.
He could not read the Edmonton Sun.
Yeah.
I'd tell him, hey, Bob, look, read this. I'd say, read this. And look, hey, man, look at this article, right? And I'd say, read it loud. I got to eat my donut or whatever, because I would do the same thing for him, right? One eating, one reading. He could not read the Edmonton Sun. And I think even back then, the Edmonton Sun was probably written at a grade 2 level.
Yeah, it was always a low level.
Right?
Yeah.
So
low level
true.
paper.
So true.
Right, and I'm not trying to be insulting. The
No,
fact
that's
of the
the way it
matter
was.
is, it was written at a very low level.
So true.
And he
So
couldn't
true.
understand this. And I used to shake my head in absolute disbelief that he's got a grade 12 diploma. He's actually got a diploma that he can put on the wall, but he cannot understand the Edmonton Sun.
But here's also something that's kind of completely different. So back when I was going into high school as well, or in high school, so I graduated from high school, but then I was getting some push from the football coach
Right.
and the rugby coach and said, why don't you come back and
When
play
you play,
another
yeah? When you play, yeah?
year?
Oh, is
Come
that
back-
true?
You come back and play another year.
Right.
Oh.
And so I said, I thought about it, and I remember talking to my parents. Like, I already graduated. I
Yeah.
had all my credits.
All the credits that you needed.
And so, and my one football coach was also an accounting coach, and he says, "Well, sign up for an accounting class. Sign up for. I only needed.
And now you're in.
I only needed so many classes per semester.
Right.
And now they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I went back for an extra year, even though I already graduated, because they wanted me to come back.
They want you
and
to
play
come
sports. So I went back and played
And got an
my,
extra
my
credit.
football and rugby, but I took courses that, like, I was in accounting class with my one football coach, which he would mark me there if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it was-
Because he wanted you to
course.
play sports.
and it was,
Of course.
you know, I didn't really have a whole lot. I studied it when I was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there, but I didn't put any effort
No effort
into it, really big effort into it.
I love this statement by Jeremy, and I love this statement by Jeremy. Not just learn, but learn to think. Learn to express your innermost thoughts. If you cannot express, define, or explore your being, you have no power and no agency. I couldn't agree with you more, Jeremy, and I struggle with this as a parent.
I 100% agree with you, Jeremy. And let me just not clarify, but maybe add to the understanding of what you're saying. The fact of the matter is, what a lot of people don't understand is that language is the basis of thought. We do not think outside of our language. Our language limitations are the actual thought limitations. And I think it's a very key thing to understand. We only think in terms of language. There are no arbitrary thoughts that are in the ether. We actually think with words. That's how we think as humans. So the fact of the matter is, your facility for language, to your point, Jeremy, your facility for language literally either enhances or limits your power of thought, not to even mention the ability to actually then express it. So this is why, and oh my God, you guys can all just yell at me if you want, but this is the problem in our society today. This is the problem why democracy doesn't work as well as it did at one time. The reason is the electorate has to be educated. And I don't mean a PhD, I mean educated enough to read and therefore educated enough to understand.
So they can process and provide
exactly,
a thought that
and
makes
then
sense.
think instead of being propagandized. And that is the problem. an illiterate, obviously I'm taking that to extreme, an illiterate electorate equals a failed democracy. There's a quote right there. Put that on a meme. All right, an illiterate. There you go. I'll put this on a meme. An illiterate electorate is the basis of a failed democracy.
Equals a failed democracy.
I said it better the first time. That's right. So there you go. Off my high horse, even though I can't go because
Well,
then I'll
y'all
fall.
are getting no disagreements from
There you
us.
go. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, no.
Did you guys say hi to Brent, by the way?
Mr. Brett, how are you, sir? Mr.
Brett?
Clifford? Mr. Clifford.
Yeah.
His name is Mr. Clifford. Brent,
So-
how are you, Brent?
Obviously, we haven't even talked about normally what we talk about,
Well-
and like how was everybody's week or anything. We got right into this conversation, which is not our topic either.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
topic.
It's a good topic.
I don't know where Laura is. I mean,
It's a
she's
good
supposed to keep us on
topic. She
track.
just said hi and then she left.
Unbelievable.
So-
Anyway, I know I have some strong feelings about this. That's because, well, it might be because I'm a lover of language. I love language. But then I see the
You're in schools every day.
well, it's not that so much honestly, Paul, because I don't deal with it in that way. But the fact of the matter is, I see when people struggle to think, and I see that the reason they're struggling to think is because they don't have the skills to be able to form a rounded opinion, because they cannot seem to understand what's going on in the world, because language is in jeopardy.
You know, we're gonna see this quote. We're gonna see this quote right beside Nietzsche. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're gonna do.
Oh, Jeremy put it up on the quote.
Nietzsche and Smith.
Yeah.
An illiterate, yeah, there you go.
There you go. An illiterate electorate equals a failed democracy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Which makes complete sense. If you don't have the education, and like you said, it doesn't have to be a PhD, but if you're going into a leadership type of, especially something that's governing,
Correct.
Whether it be a city, a town, a country, whatever, you have to be able to process your thoughts and to do it in such a way that people understand and you
Process
understand
the
what
thoughts
you're
and learn
talking
to
about.
communicate those
And learn to
thoughts.
communicate it. But I mean, you can't even form the basis of thought without good language skills, right?
And know the goddamn difference between there, and there, please. Jesus. Oh.
And then you know, Paulie, just to your point, and I know you're being, sort of tongue in cheek.
Marginally facetious.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is, like, if you want the truth, that doesn't bother me as much, because that becomes a sort of a syntactual type thing. I know a couple of people that are ultra well read and ultra smart, but then when they write it, it's just a syntactical thing.
It's a pet peeve for me.
And don't get me wrong, it irritates the freaking thing
pet
out of me.
peeve for me.
But it's not an indication of a lack of understanding of language.
Correct.
What it is, it's just a.
Correct.
It's this blockage, just almost like dyslexia, where they put it out there. I mean, I know a guy who's I'll call him out, Aaron. If you ever listen to this podcast, Aaron Ashley, he's a brilliant dude. He truly is. Like, he's a brilliant guy. He's well read, and when he writes, you should see his comments. They're like, every bloody comment in a discussion group is like, holy, I gotta go look that up. I gotta really pay attention to what he's saying, because he's so brilliant. He's just a brilliant guy.
A lot of times, people too in that rate are thinking way faster.
Thinking
than that.
faster.
So they're busy typing it, and it's
And
just,
and
it's
autotype
not-
gets it.
And autocorrect jumps
Yeah.
in, which we
But
never
he-
had back then.
But he does it all the time. He's like, yo, and I'm like, and then the first couple times I saw it, I was kind of taken aback. I'm like, this is from Aaron, really? But it's just,
You know, it's kind of funny, you guys. On topic, off topic. When I first started at the radio station, and they say, Paul, you need to be really conversational. I'll never forget my boss telling me this. Paul, you just really need to be very conversational. And then he says to me, no big words.
yeah.
And here I am sitting here thinking, how many syllables would you like?
Yeah. How about here?
Like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't know what a big word means.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Do you know? So can I use the word illiterate?
Yeah.
Or is that too many? What does that mean?
I said to somebody the other day, I was talking about something, and I said, well, in any other iteration, this would be this. And he says to me, another what? I said, iteration. Any other, like, in any other iteration, any other. And I'm like, and I kind of stopped. I'm like, never mind. I mean, like,
Shake your head.
So our society is in so many ways, I think. Oh my God, I know I'm going to get killed for this, but our society in so many ways has gotten backwards in education, right? And yet, other societies, it's funny, right? Because we spend so much screen time on our phones and TikTok and all this type of shit. And the fact of the matter is, other societies who are much more weighted, they're much more weighted in the area of kids' education and progress and all these things. Some of these kids, they're brilliant. In places like Japan currently, they're studying things in grade 4 that
Well,
is
you get
so
into things,
far ahead.
maybe, robotics, AI, some of the
Yeah,
things these kids can do.
way ahead the studying, right?
Yeah.
So,
Hello, Amy.
hi, Amy.
I think
She's laughing about
Hi,
something.
Abe, how's your daughter?
in my opinion, which is maybe not a popular one either, but I think as time has moved on from when we were in school to where kids, I think kids, it's just too soft for kids now. It's
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. Is it like, let's not put too much pressure on these kids, and
Well-
blah, 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 right?
And I
don't
think,
know.
Bill, you have a point. And I think people are pining to the whole mental health thing. Oh, we can't put too much pressure on them. We'll have a suicide epidemic. I hope I'm not being overly facetious here, but I think people are really
I get the
really
whole mental
worried.
health thing as
I
well.
get it. I get it.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know that people consider. Do you know something? I'm a little bit better now, but when I was in high school and stuff like that, I would not study. I'm not a studier per se.
I was not a studier in high school
Now,
either.
now, on some subjects, I did very well without studying. Like I did really well. I mean, I had books that I literally didn't crack the book open, and I got some fantastic marks. And that's not some sort of an arrogant statement. It's just a fact. Some stuff came easy. to me.
I think that happens
Other
to most
stuff,
of us. Yeah.
other stuff did not. But here's my point to you guys' point. I really needed the stress and the pressure of the last minute to actually get it done. I would start an essay 2 nights before it was due, a 15-page essay. I would start it 2 nights before it was due. And keep in mind, this is pre-internet. So it's not like I could just jump on the internet and get and do
You had to
something.
go to the library to go through
No,
that
I
card
had to go
system.
to the library, and I would go
Yeah.
sit in the library, and then it was funny because I would meet somebody there, something like that, wherever the case may be. And then when the library closed, we'd come out and sit on the steps, and I would continue writing because my brain was still there, but the library needed to close.
Yeah.
And until I had that pressure, I didn't actually get to work. And I think to you guys' point, when you say they're not putting a lot of pressure on children, I hate to break it to people. Some kids, such as me, for instance, we needed the pressure. We actually needed that drive, that pressure put on us. So I'm thinking there's a lot of kids out there that are perhaps maybe like me who need that pressure to get their ass in motion.
So
And we're not driving that.
That's kind of what I'm getting at
Yeah.
as well, right? There's not. It's too, like, that's what I mean by we're
Yeah,
too soft on kids. Everybody's so worried.
I
Like,
agree.
I understand the mental health thing in that, but everybody's so worried. Well, we don't want to offend them.
Or, or we don't
Let's
want
not
to
get
put
them upset.
overly stressed.
Yeah,
over
that's-
stress.
that's what I'm saying,
That's not
though.
really
That's
stress,
what I'm saying.
stress them out, right?
Yeah.
And
See, I think-
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
2 days out before an exam, I thought, oh, I better start studying. I haven't done anything.
I haven't done
for
anything.
this exam.
49 years old. I don't know how the hell to study. I would not know how to study for
Paulie,
an exam.
I've talked about this in the past when we've had discussions about this. The one thing that people don't seem to understand is that we talk about kids that they can't concentrate in class, so we're going to feed them Ritalin and so on and so forth. How about you teach them to concentrate? Why does
Why does everything become a medication? Why do you have to medicate them?
and Bill, I don't understand
Dude,
why.
you're poking the bear.
Dude, I don't understand why concentration seems to be expected to be an innate ability for children. Who said that concentration is an innate human ability?
No, I think you have to learn it.
Joe, my nephew Lyndon, I tell you what, when he was 5 or 4, something like that, my mom, God rest her soul, my mom was babysitting him for a time, like days for a time. And she started out, she wanted to make sure he was really good at kindergarten. And my mom was a ex-teacher, right? I won't make this long, sorry. So anyway, she would say, Lyndon, it's lesson time. And it just so happened Mom didn't know. She picked 11 o'clock, and 11 o'clock, Sesame Street was on. He used to love Sesame Street. And Mom said, no, she didn't, my mom didn't matter to her.
Yeah.
She turned the TV off, Lyndon, it's lesson time. And he would be grumpy, and he would do everything, blah, blah, blah. And she was so patient. She was so patient with him. 11 o'clock came, okay, we don't have to study, Lyndon, but I'm not doing anything else with you. So you're just going to sit there. And blah, blah, blah. To you guys, to make a long story short, it took about 3 weeks of my mom being very, very selective. First of all, he was learning. He learned to spell his name, blah, 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 everything else. And secondly, by the time 3 weeks rolled around, not only was he already knows his name and everything else, he would bring his books at 11 o'clock because she taught him how to read the time.
But he also knew that if he did that, then he would get his time after.
would get
because
his time
he-
after.
Bill, that's it.
He followed the rules and learned how to
and
do it.
learned. But Bill, he actually liked it. What he would do is, she taught him how to read the time, right? Because she said it's 11 o'clock, it's time for lessons.
Yeah.
He learned to read the time. He would get his books, go turn the TV off, and go, Grandma, it's lesson time.
Right, so he's learned.
And he loved it.
You've just taught him concentration.
Taught him concentration.
And,
And my mom would go, with the finger, and his finger, she'd grab his finger and go, letter A says,
Yeah.
letter B says.
Yeah.
And I used to laugh at her because she's so specific. My mom had this really, like a very innocent voice, right? And she'd grab his little finger and go, letter B says, and she'd wait. And that's how he learned. And all of a sudden, his concentration skills, I tell you what, I actually attribute that to his success later on. You should see him now. The man is he's literally borderline genius. He's actually studying medicine right now.
You just sparked something in me. Did you know, Cliff? You don't have kids. Did you know that in today's curriculum, elementary curriculum, they do not teach kids how to tell time? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
My kids in the curriculum did they
you
know
know
now,
why?
they know now did not learn how to tell the time.
But you know why? Everything's digital now.
Digital.
Like if you can read a number, like
Yeah.
I understand. I do not think that is
Amy
logical.
said this just got a little more interesting, by the way.
Oh, hey.
And by the way, look at the clock.
Look at the clock. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the middle of the podcast.
Yeah.
And Jeremy says he would love to have met your mother. You know what, Jeremy? You would have loved her, dude. You guys would have got on good too. You have
I think-
similar spirits.
I think you're exactly right, Cliff. Like for those kids that are struggling a bit with concentration and or otherwise, why can't they have a class where it's 45 minutes or whatever and said, okay, we're going to teach you how to
teach you how to concentrate.
how to concentrate, how you put this time into
I
your
just
mind.
had this conversation with my daughter.
Yeah.
Just
And
3 days
honestly,
ago.
I'm not talking about limiting activity and creativity. I'm the guy that was like this at school.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about limiting stuff like that. I'm talking about channeling it. You channel your energy towards things that are important in the moment, right? And that's what my mom did with Lennon. He was a little 4-year-old, Tasmanian devil, right? But she channeled that energy and she made him love what he was doing.
To your point and to your mom's point, and I heard this somewhere. I don't remember radio, TV. What I did with my kids ever since they were knee high, probably 3 years old, from the time they could talk, I said, "You want a candy? Okay, what's 2 + 2?"
Right.
Like really, you want a candy? Do you? I really?
Yeah.
What's 2 + 2? And okay. Do you want do you want a dessert for dinner? Okay, go find me an A. Go find me an A.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that since they were knee high, so they know that if they want something, if they want a treat, they got to earn it.
Right.
They got to earn it, and they got to use their noggins to get it.
Sorry, this is slightly off topic, but isn't knee high the drink that Radar drank on
Grape,
Ash?
grape knee high.
Great knee high. Anyway,
Gary Berghoff. I didn't know Gary Berghoff had a hand.
he always has had that.
deformed
If you
hand.
watch the MASH
Why, I
episodes,
didn't.
he was hiding it over
This is
time.
where he grabs envelope. It's always that way.
He's always
I
hiding
didn't,
stuff.
and and there was a thing on social media, and he says, photo of Gary Berghoff's hand.
So
that is-
Nicole says they're actually telling time starts in grade 2. However,
Used
it's
to.
more fraction form than telling time.
Yep, they used to tell time in grade 2. They don't do that. Well, in my kids' experience, they did not have telling time in grade 2. They did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Jeremy said Jeremy said, I coasted through high school, never studied, never learned to study. I regret not having this skill. I've noticed it's lacked many times in my adult life. Absolutely, Jeremy. And I actually can relate to that. I learned a little bit while later that I needed pressure, and that helped me a little bit. But still, to date, I'm telling you something. I would need to learn to study. And Leslie Ann, my wife, Leslie Ann, from grade kindergarten all the way through to grade 12, she has 12 honor roll certificates. Even in kindergarten, she was on a roll. But I tell you what, don't ever think it came easy to her. She studied. Like she knew how to study, right?
Well, your wife's a smart cookie, anyways. But but yes, I mean, there's no excuse for hard work. There's no.
Substitution.
Thank you. That's the word I'm
Yeah.
looking for. There is no substitution for hard work.
Laura says my daughter's had a clock unit in grade 3.
My kids, I never saw anything. I never saw that.
Now, Nicole says, sadly, kiddos' attention span is so short, which is why it seems in the classroom they have at least 4 things before recess. But again, I think this goes back to Cliff's point. If they have a short attention span, why can't we teach them to lengthen that attention span?
We need to teach them, and that's the thing.
If you're not going to teach them,
Yeah.
how to lengthen that attention span, and whether it's lengthening it from 5 minutes to today we're going to do this for 6 minutes,
Whatever, I don't care.
and build
right?
it until
and build
they
it,
can
yeah.
sit there for 10 or 15 minutes. Right?
But see, and see, Bill, that not to pound a point, but this is what I mean about people expecting that for some odd reason concentration is an innate human skill. It's not. We don't expect the
it
kid
is
to know
not.
exactly what 2 + 2 equals.
No.
We don't expect the child to start talking at 1 year old. So why do we expect all of a sudden that
they're just
children
gonna
they're just going to magically concentrate?
Concentrate, and they'll have attention span. They can sit down there for 60 minutes.
I
Attention
not
seriously-
span and Mensa students.
I
There you go, right
seriously
there.
do not understand. Like, honestly, and if anybody can explain it to me, maybe I'm missing something. Any educators that would ever listen to this, if you can explain it to me, I would be the first guy to stand up and say I was wrong. But I will raise the flag on that to say that concentration is not an innate human skill. It needs to be taught.
Folks, we don't live in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Well, we do, kind of. Let's have that discussion sometime.
Not the Keanu Reeves Matrix.
Not the Reeves Matrix.
Not the Keanu Reeves Matrix.
Yeah, it's you're completely right. You're not born with concentration.
With concentration. And I'm not, and people, please, I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a great video by a guy named Ken Peterson. He talks about education and how education drums out creativity of kids. And it's the funniest thing. If you Google it, it's called, if anybody wants it, I will Google it and find it for you. It's a beautiful, beautiful 20-minute speech. It's one of the funniest things, and it's fantastic. It's old now, so the video sucks, but nonetheless, it's beautiful. So I'm not talking about drumming out or getting kids who are restless and creative to sit. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking the energy that they have and channeling it.
Channeling it.
Concentration takes energy. Concentration is not some sort of a dormant behavior.
Well, and
That's what Ritalin is. But concentration takes
Yeah.
actual energy.
Yeah.
And Nicole says, I feel it's due to all the electronics kiddos are exposed to, that they're focused on that. And the real world classroom work seems to be too much for them.
100% correct, Nicole. And one of the things about teaching concentration would be to rip that stupid screen right out of their hand.
I
Sorry to be so
I
blunt.
agree with you, Nicole.
Sorry, I
I
was
agree with
laughing at Jeremy's comment.
I agree with you, Nicole. Cliff, I agree with you. However, I think it's an honest it's an honest oversight by the education system. They are not keeping up with the times.
Now there is.
They're not keeping up with
They
the
have
times.
done that removal this year of not allowing kids to have cell phones.
Love it.
In the classroom.
Love
or anything like that. Jeremy, yeah, we should now have camps for kids to learn concentration. We could call them concentration. Well, wait, never mind.
Jeremy, 4,500 points, buddy.
Take those to the bank.
You just made my night, bud. Hey,
Comment of the
listen,
night.
I talked about me saying that whatever the hell I said about education was a meme. That's your freaking meme right there, buddy.
Comment of the
We
night.
should have camps for
I
kids
love
to
it.
learn concentration. We can call
Holy
them
cow.
concentration camps.
Holy
Jeremy,
cow. Get the hook.
oh
Get
my
the
god.
hook.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
That was awesome. That was great.
That's you just won the
That's
internet
comment
here,
of the
buddy.
night. Yep.
Yeah. So as I said, taking cell phones and things out, but Nicole is right. They still have their Chromebooks. So she says, however, kiddos are still exposed to their Chromebooks and do their assignments on that. So
Oh,
really,
do they?
we're
Oh.
taking one and giving the other.
No, but come on though. They're not allowed to doom scroll. If you don't know what that means, tell me. But they're not allowed to doom scroll on their Chromebooks, are they? Aren't
Yeah.
they being supervised
They
to
should
work?
be hanging out on social media on their Chromebooks.
They shouldn't be. But on the phone, they're literally
They're texting to their buddy in the back of the class.
or doom
Wait,
scrolling.
Let me tell you
scrolling, yeah.
something. Let me tell you something. This happened this week at my kid's mother's house. There was an argument. Blah blah blah. If you don't do this, I will take your phone away. If you take my phone away, I'm gonna kill myself.
Ah,
That happened this week. That happened this week. I'm beside myself.
They're so tied
Beside myself.
to these things now.
And guys, that is almost a quote. That is almost a quote of how their mother explained how that went by.
and just to clarify, Nicole, I know exactly what you mean. They're exposed to screen time. And I get your point. I really, truly do. I guess what I'm saying is that we can't get away from the fact that today's work is actually on the computer. That's the fact. That's the truth
We all
of the
work
matter.
on computers now.
Right? I mean, I don't handwrite an essay anymore. I have to do it on my computer. So Chromebooks in those cases, they're obviously necessary and mandatory. But I guess it's the doom scrolling. That's where the attention span dissipates rather quickly. If, on the other hand, we teach children to put that Chromebook in front of them, my computer has what is called a writing or a reading mode. You push a button, it expands the screen, so all you see is the text. And when I read, if I have a really intense article to read, like if I'm reading a medical paper and obviously I'm not a doctor, so I have to learn as I go along, right? What I'll do is I'll take my laptop, I'll put it on a reading screen, so that only the text is there. And then I'll leave my home computer right here to look up words that if I don't know them, or use my phone to look up a word. But my laptop is only the text, because then I can concentrate on it and I don't have the urge to click on, oh look, Facebook sent a notification. Right?
That's
So-
right. Because as soon as that's going to happen, when the kid or whomever, right away, oh, got to check that out.
Done, boom, check, you're out, right?
Something new on TikTok. I got to go check that out.
And you lose your train of thought. I don't know if there are any writers
do.
in the group, but I could think of a whole sentence, but by the time I get it out onto paper or onto type, if I'm distracted for that minute, I could lose that entire thought.
Yeah. Read
Right.
what Laura says there, Paul.
Kids need to be taught the balance of phone edicts, but I get it. Is a struggle and one I sometimes fail at. Yeah. Hey, Laura, me too.
Laura, I gotta tell you,
Hey.
everybody fails at that, my friend. It's not you. And I tell you something, the fact of the matter is, I know moms, and I know them personally, that are so tired that when they get home or they have, some sort of home life that is traumatic, where they can't rest, where they can't sleep, where they can't think straight, where they don't have any peace. These people, when they put their children in front of a television or an iPad or a phone, or whatever the case may be, it's out of necessity. It's not out of neglect. It's out of necessity because they're so drained and and it happens to single dads. It happens to single moms. It happens to moms who are in marriages that are, for some reason, tumultuous. All right. And they don't have that peace and quiet. So it happens. Believe me, it happens. And I know these people and I feel for them because it's not out of neglect. It's out of exhaustion because their current life is not working. Okay, so, and then that's what happens. So please understand, I'm not casting aspersions on things like that. What I'm saying is that as a whole, as a society, we need to understand that concentration is not an innate human skill, that it has to be taught. Where does it have to be taught? In every single aspect of a child's life. It has to be taught at home, has to be taught at school, has to be taught when they're playing basketball. It has to be, you can't doom scroll when you're playing basketball, can you?
Nope, it's
Right.
pretty hard.
All et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we need to teach kids focus upon certain things when they're doing it.
Stick a kid in baseball.
Does that make sense, you guys?
Stick a kid in baseball.
Sorry to go off on a
but you can
tangent,
stick
but I
a
wanted
kid
to
in any
qualify.
sport.
Stick a kid in baseball, have him lose his concentration for a second and see how a baseball to the noggin feels. He'll remember concentration real quick.
Yeah.
Real
Well,
quick.
put a kid in any sport, and you have to have that concentration or learn that concentration, right? And you can say, well, oh yeah, but a 2-year-old's concentrating. Look how long they held on to that toy and
Yeah.
were moving it around. Well, they're just learning. That's the very early stages of learning. Because if you watch, that concentration on that toy might only be a minute and a half, and then they're tossing it aside and they're going over here to see what's happening over
Sign
here.
of a wonderfully active mind, right?
Yes.
It's awesome, right? But fact of the matter is, and it's not a problem if you concentrate on this and then move on to something else when you're 2 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, but at least you can concentrate, at least you can focus on something.
Yeah.
Right?
Nicole says concentration is like having common sense.
Yeah, I can see that.
Laura is.
I see
agreeing
where you're going with
Jeremy.
that, Nicole.
Then Nicole says, I feel that's a concept that's not as common.
It's true. It's true. I don't know. I just think in my mind it seems to be one of the. It's going back to my earlier statement, right? It's like we're trying to build buildings on top of weak foundations. Like if you want a child to get into, let's say, whatever sciences or become a trades welder or whatever, it doesn't matter what field of work they go into. What is the basis of learning that? The basis of learning that is language.
Language, concentration.
And concentration, right?
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, we're not, in my mind, we're not teaching our young people the very foundations of what it is to live in this world.
guys, I'm so happy we're having this conversation because I just went to my phone and we had this as per my conversation with my kids this morning. Concentration. It's not an innate skill. You need it. You need to learn it. It is a skill. You need to learn it. And thank you for bringing this up. We just had this conversation. I just sent my kids a message. It is not summer anymore. It is not 9:30. I just sent them bedtime.
Oh, good for you.
Bedtime.
Good for you. Good for you.
Because guess what? Summer's over.
Done.
Summer's
Work
over.
time.
So what I mean by this is we have to remember that kids, and I just had this conversation at work, kids need structure and they need routine. And they need routine.
And routine.
Older ones less than younger ones, such and such as such. Because gosh knows I do not have routine in my life.
Yeah.
Okay. Or structure for that matter. So I think in terms of concentration, let's help them. Let's get them a routine. And as parents, that's our responsibility. Let's get them structure. Let's get them routine as much as we possibly can. I mean, God knows I am not a routine or structured person.
Yeah.
Right? And all hell goes out the window on weekends after my ex has probably done a lot of really good work during the week with them, right?
Yeah.
But let's try and I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Read
we're
Nicole
so damn busy. We're so damn busy.
Nicole says.
Sometimes in the younger grades, when they're a kiddo who's trying to figure it out, I verbalized ideas so they can grasp what they could do to solve their problems or what others are doing.
Absolutely, Nicole. That's awesome.
Agreed.
Read Jeremy's there.
When quitting smoking, the hardest thing was doing something for the first time without smoking.
Yep.
Agreed. Smoking was everywhere. It was in everything. It was without thought, and it was an addiction. It took practice for anything I did while smoking to feel natural without it. Some with phone addictions. Same with phone addictions. Pardon me. I agree. I mean, what do you what do you do with the oral fixation? Like how do? Because I don't know about you. When I quit smoking, that oral fixation was a killer for me. You got to figure out a way.
Yeah, and you're completely right, Jeremy. The kids and adults, so many that cannot put down their phone. It's in their hand all the time. No matter what they're doing, it's always there, so they can get into it and check it and do whatever, text somebody or whatever they're doing.
And hey, that describes me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm actually. It's funny that we jump on this topic without sort of thought before, but I'm actually working towards that, where I put my phone down and it's funny, I was having a conversation with a friend today, that just because the phone rings doesn't mean you have to answer it.
Yeah.
Right? If your kids are sitting in front of you and you know where your wife is or whatever your family situation is, if you look around and you go, yep, all the important people in my life right here. I mean, don't answer your phone. And if you don't answer it, if it is important, that person's going to call back.
Yeah. And
right?
And then for some of us, like me, I have to carry two.
Yeah, you
So I carry two.
Bill,
cell phones.
I don't know how the hell you do it. It would drive me bananas.
And look at Nicole's comment there.
She said, well, you're sort of establishing routines, exactly, right? Saturday!
You guys hit that on the nose, Eugene.
Thanks, Nicole. That was a well-needed break.
Yeah, so we concentrated
Concentrate on that one.
to do that.
Yeah.
Nicole,
took
that
some-
sucked.
But yeah, so I was just having a conversation with a friend today when the phone rings. She literally jumps for the phone, and I'm like, dude, relax. You don't have to answer the phone, right? And
There's such thing as voicemail. You can
and I
put that
tease
to
her. I mean, I don't mean it, but I tease her, right? I'm like, just because the phone rings, you have to answer it. Just because the doorbell rings, you don't have to answer the doorbell. I'm glad you did answer the doorbell today, Bill.
Yeah.
Because I was there, or else I'd have been standing outside. But the fact of the matter is, you don't have to answer the phone. You can answer it at your convenience. And perhaps if you're sitting down with your significant other or your kids and having food, perhaps you don't want to answer it at that moment.
Well, Laura says, that's it. Can't watch the podcast anymore because I can't put it down. It's become an addiction.
Listen, Laura, I would appreciate if you took 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Mondays to concentrate on this podcast.
Yes, we're teaching you concentration. 186 hours we've been teaching you to concentrate on these 186 hours.
Hey, Polly, boom!
Comment of the day number 2.
Even the one we did,
That guy
even
right
the
there.
episode 154, where we did an encore, you were concentrating because we came back after
Comment of the
did
day
an
number
encore.
2. Laura says, I say that though because YouTube and streaming services cater to this mentality.
I agree, Laura.
I
And
agree.
I'm telling you something, I can be very. The worst thing I ever discovered was YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
Dude, is that doom scrolling? I'm like, I want you to take the phone and just squeeze the living daylights and throw it at something, because I'm like, what's the next one say? What's the next one say? I'm like, all of a sudden 15 minutes is gone.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
watch like 45 different shorts.
The YouTube, anybody went through the YouTube rabbit hole? Yeah, this guy,
This guy.
7 hours later,
Oh yeah, me too.
and you got to go to work the next day.
Me too. Me
Without
too.
concentration.
And what's worse is you find a song and then you find another song and then you find
Well, that's what I
another
mean.
song.
7 hours later.
It's like, oh my goodness gracious
7
me.
hours later, you guys.
And Nicole says, yeah, I'll read this. Says, yes, that's the best part of the phone. Answer it when you have a free moment. And if you're in the presence of your family, important people, be in the moment. 100% Nicole. I've literally jeered at people, even though I don't mean it in a malicious way. I've literally jeered people who go to a concert and they spend the entire 2 hours doing this.
We've had that discussion, right?
Right? And I mean, come on, watch the goddamned concert, for heaven's sakes. Enjoy the moment, right? So I'm with you.
Like I said.
Go ahead.
I'm not passionate about that at all, Bill.
You know, well, we've talked about that. Those people were for a 2.5 hour concert, whatever. That whole 2.5 hours, they're shooting the whole thing.
I have 2 songs from yesterday's concert.
See?
Just 2.
Yeah.
I have 2.
Yeah, see, Paulie, that's what I would do. I go to a concert.
I have 2.
And I might record one song, maybe a little bit more, whatever. Or to show it to somebody, say, hey, look at this, was awesome, man. You should have been here. I wish you were here.
So
You
I
know?
read somewhere 2 things. I read somewhere 2 things. Again, I can't remember where it was, but I read that if you actually take your phone and record something, you will not remember it.
You won't.
You will not remember it. You will not remember the situation. Point number 2. How many people actually go back and watch the how many people go back and watch the song?
Yeah.
We were talking about
I've got
this in another
Depeche
podcast.
Mode on here from 2017. I've never looked at it once.
Yep.
It's funny, there's this
You know?
sales coach sometimes I watch on YouTube, and one of his ways of teaching is you need to have a notepad and a pen.
Right.
You write down everything he says. He says, I can have a PowerPoint here. He says, I can send you the PowerPoint, whatever. You guys aren't going to
You're
watch
never
it.
gonna watch
You're
it,
not
never
gonna
gonna read
retain it or learn it unless you physically take your pen and write it down on a piece of paper about what I'm saying.
But
Yeah,
that's
my
how
wife's
you
not
study.
my
But that's
wife's
how
not
you
watching
study.
this time, but she will tell you she's a master note taker, like master at taking notes.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, my goodness me, when I had trouble learning lines for a play, couldn't concentrate. You know what I did? I wrote the damn thing out
That's what I do.
by hand.
That's what I do.
Cliffy,
I
you
do it.
guys.
There's 2 things I do for learning lines when I'm doing a show. One is I literally will write it out,
Yep.
go back and check, and I write the cue lines as well.
The cue lines, yeah.
And I'll also record it and put it in my vehicle, all the cue lines, and then I just talk back to the cue
That's
lines.
exactly
I do.
That's exactly
That's
what I do.
what I do.
That's exactly
Except for
what
writing
I do.
it down, but I like your. I have to do the
I do
writing
the
down.
most.
thing,
I handwrite.
but I don't. Yes.
And okay, if it's a really easy kind of play, whatever, there's no such thing an easy play. But if the language is right up my alley or whatever, then I'm like, no, I can do it. But if it's a sort of a difficult lines, and I really want to have the facility with the dialogue, right? I will write it down, and I will put bold for this syllable because I want to emphasize that
I
syllable,
do
etc.,
both for that,
etc.,
and
right?
also-
Do you know what
especially
Do you know what I
monologue
do,
too.
guys? Talking about cues. You know what I do is I say my line. Paul Hooklack, this was really nice to see, and then the next line is the other.
Yep.
This is what they say.
Right,
This was it.
right.
And then I do my line like this, and then I do the other character's line like
Yep.
this. That's what I do. That's
Yep.
what I do.
Yeah, I
guys.
do it in different accents sometimes.
Different accent's a great idea. Great
for-
idea.
yeah. Well, because I'm in case anybody doesn't know by now, I'm British East Indian, right? So I'll start some of the lines.
what?
So some of the lines they'll be, if you get my meaning, some of the lines I'll have a head shake, and some of the lines I'll. What can I do? That's my culture.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's the thing to do. But writing down is really something else. And to Paul's point, when you start recording like that, your brain literally thinks, "I'll watch it later," and it doesn't
And you never do.
concentrate, and you never do.
You never do.
Once. You might watch it once
Yeah.
down the road. And
Yeah, the only time I actually really honestly truly take any kind of video or pictures at a concert is when I want message somebody and say, "Gee, I wish you were here. I'm having such a good time. It would have been so
Sure.
great to have you here."
Sure.
And then I send him it, and sometimes I'll torture him, right? Haha, too bad you're not here. It's fantastic.
Well, I make a point of doing 1 or 2 videos, ergo 1 or 2
Well, it's good memory
songs.
for you, right?
I've got 1 or 2 songs of Plant. I've got 1 or 2. Never have I ever referred back to Depeche Mode's 2017
And you love Depeche
concert.
Mode. That's your favorite band.
Depeche Mode. Like, it's my favorite band. Robert Plant is, well, Robert Plant.
Yeah.
Like you don't get no better. I'm probably never going to go back.
Cole says this is why I use the acronym WTD.
WTD.
Write this down.
And I like what Jeremy says, especially at the cost of tickets. Can you imagine spending so much money on a babysitter,
Yeah.
tickets, parking, food, alcohol, etc.? And
not
alcohol
watch-
would be significant
Not
expense for
actually
me.
actually watching the show.
Don't even get me started.
And then not watching
Oh.
the show because you're too busy bloody filming it that you'll never watch another time in your whole life, and filling up the memory on your phone.
But some of the most annoying things are those concert videos. You're watching these people who are or they're either doing the whole concert or portion or thereof or whatever, but then they start to sing along and they can't sing.
And then their voices on the video.
And you're trying to hear the song, and all of a sudden they start singing along and they're off key, but they think they're on key, so they just ruin the whole video anyway.
The video's so the video is screwed anyway, right?
Laura says, I will totally go back and watch the song. Not often, but I have watched the Simple Plan song 4 times since Katie's. Yeah, I got shit on here since 2017. I haven't seen it once.
That's awesome. You got your stupid voice on the video on the other end, singing out of key. Hey, check this video out, boys.
I gotta watch this, and then you start singing. What are you singing?
That's awesome,
Please
Bill.
don't sing.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh, look at our time. Yeah.
What time is it? Oh my God, how fast did this hour went? We never even got to the topic. So hey, we still have a topic for next week.
Got a topic for next
Good.
week.
What is it? Because I read it real quick today.
This
Oh,
is-
I read it.
I'll put it up.
This
here
is
real
for
quick
next week,
before
by
we-
the way, folks. This is
Or
for next week.
yeah,
We
if we
talked-
get to it.
If we get to it. So there you go.
So the topic next week, or one of
Okay.
these weeks, will be free will versus determination. So it's debating whether human actions are actually predetermined or determined by certain factors prior, a priori, beyond our control, or if we genuinely have freedom of choice of any kind.
Yes.
So
I'm determined to be here.
there you go. All right, folks, it's been a fun episode, I think. Kind of got to be on our high horses a little bit here and there. Sorry about that. It's something that I'm passionate about, is education of our children. I'm passionate about language, so therefore I think Polly and Bill could say the same thing. So this is of close interest to us, so pardon us if we're a little bit passionate. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate that. If you have any comments, either good, bad, ugly, and you want to help us educate ourselves if we said something wrong, please do. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for showing up on Must Listen Monday, and I wish you the very best of the week ahead. And if you happen to miss the podcast,
You can tune in it right here on YouTube, actually. Watch it with the comments, or Facebook. Go back and watch it there if there's comments that you missed or wanted to check out or whatever, but you can rewatch it. And, of course, audio on Sound Sugar Radio on 10 o'clock on Friday nights, soundsugarradio.com. You can hear just the audio portion of it, but hey, go back, binge watch if you want. 186 hours worth of it. Anyway, everybody, it's been fun again, and we will chat to you all later.
and most importantly, stay happy.